3, 2, 1.
Today on the Mile High Sports Symposium, we're going to talk about some NFL news that impacts the Broncos and also some Broncos news. We're going to talk some post-mortem Avalanche conversation, and we've got a little bit of Denver Nuggets talk, so stick with us, and we will be right back.
It's still sad.
Yo, welcome to the show. Let me set the scene. Mile High Sports Symposium, living the dream. Broncos in the house with that orange and blue. Nuggets making moves, watch that altitude crew. Avalanche bringing ice, check the skills they display. Rocky swinging bats, ready for on gameplay. Rapids in the mix, kicking it with style. Buffs bring the heat, put the rivals on trial. Chris and JT, they got the scoop. Mile High vibes, feel that energy rise. Sports on the menu, watch the crowd mesmerize. From football to hockey, we're taking it higher. Join the celebration, feel that sports desire.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mile High Sports Symposium. We are here to talk about Colorado sports. I am one of your hosts, JT Matthews, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Chris Whitwright and the doctor, Nicholas Manning. Boys, happy Wednesday. We're back. I'm back after a week hiatus. I missed a good guest, but glad to be back. How y'all doing?
I'm good, man. Just living the dream that those kids are home from school, so I see them a lot more often than maybe I want to.
Yeah.
Go outside.
For sure. For sure. That's like the motto of the summer. Like,
right.
Go anywhere but inside this house.
Right.
Yeah. And then, of course, Mother Nature is like, I'm going to make this rain for 2 weeks. Gotcha. Like, you.
Right.
I pick up litter. You know what I mean? Like, I turn off the water when I'm not using it. This is what you give me back.
Yeah.
Mother Nature. I work in the office more now, so I don't see them much more, actually. So kind of missed them. You know?
Wow. You're a good dad.
I mean,
now we're implying that I'm not. I'm not excited about
well,
this.
I mean, I'm implying the same thing about myself. So
I mean, let's not get it over. Let's not overdo it. You know, I don't miss all of them the equal amount every day.
Right.
It adjusts, but what makes me more happy that we're not going to talk about in depth is your Colorado Rockies have won 4 of the last 5, won 2 series in a row. You know, just when you think they're dead, they limp off of the mat and are no longer the worst team in the NL West, let alone the MLB. Yeah.
Wow.
Giants. Check that Giants payroll.
Oh,
see,
yeah.
You know, just saying. We just went in with grit and attitude.
Counts for something, right?
Hey, you know what, man? It's when you went through the last few years of Rockies baseball, but last year was just it was so bad. Not only so bad, the baseball itself was so bad, but then you know, like those young guys, like you're so excited to break into the league, and then you're part of like a historically bad team, you know.
Yeah.
That just how that doesn't the fact that they even think they can win this year, you know, and then are figuring out ways to do it, and yeah, they scored.
I don't think that was their major league dream come true when they
like that's
just the majors and we're terrible.
We're terrible, and like this potentially could be the worst team in the history of organized sports. Like it was bad, you know. It's right. For them to come through a little bit and show some bounce and some fight, man. It's that part at least it goes to show. It gives the coaching staff for sure kudos, because that was a tough assignment, and They got the younger guys contributing and, learn how to win. And starting off June strong, when we know historically in Colorado, June has not been a good month in baseball.
Not.
So we're only they're 2-0 in June, so big things ahead. But we'll talk about that more. There's plenty to talk about, but I just want to sneak that one in under Chris's nose, because we know we talk Rockies baseball, and he's gonna buzz it, and rightfully so. You know what? They're still terrible. They're still terrible. A whole bunch of guys on the IL too. It's rough, but shout out to the boys.
Rumfield named NL Rookie of the Month, so there's that.
Yep.
There's some silver lining somewhere.
I'm the president of TJ Rumfield Fan Club, established in February 2026. And if anyone wants in, I'm by myself, me and his mom. And if anyone wants in, she even didn't want to be the president. She's like, I don't know if I want to hitch my wagon like all the way to him to that, but she's like, I'll handle the books. I'm like, well, we don't have books. She's like, good. I mean, it's easy for me to get out, and if there's anything good, I'm gonna monetize it because myself. So good call. Her name is also TJ, which is weird.
What are we talking about anymore? Are we going to get to something?
But I like it. I'm in. I don't want to be part of the fan club though. Not yet.
You give me a runway, man. I'm taking off. Take it off. What up, Dak? My guy. What's up? All right, back to actual things that are real.
Yeah, I guess we'll talk about some sports teams that are slightly more relevant, even though technically they're not, because they're all in their off season.
Hey, you know what? The only team that can win a championship in this season, as current as we are, is your fourth place Colorado Rockies.
That's right, fourth place, not last place. Hey, eternal optimist over here.
I'm just saying.
That's what I'm known for.
Hey. Looking at San Francisco down on that mat, being like, how's it taste down there?
Yeah, till we play them head to head.
We did. That's how we got.
We are still talking about this. What is going on?
Because hey, man, you know what? Hey, the people love underdog story.
JT,
is there a bigger underdog than the worst team in professional sports history?
You know who's not the worst team? The Denver Broncos.
Yes, they are.
They are not, actually. Technically,
they're not.
They would even be on the other end of the spectrum.
This was not on our rundown, but I've been seeing lots of rankings, season rankings, team rankings, power rankings. Broncos are like, 14th, 12th, 10th, somewhere in there. I saw one. I think ESPN's power index had them at like the 8th best team in the AFC, which is crazy.
This is why we don't watch ESPN. It's bad for your brain.
Well, yeah.
Bad for your brain. Just don't.
I just saw the tweets. So
I hear you.
If you want me to get off on a thing, I'll talk about the death of ESPN, how it went from the greatest thing in the history of sports to whatever it is now. It's interesting that there's a lot of power rankings where the Broncos are actually like averaged 4th. Betting odds, they're 13th. And then, the power index, they are in between the Patriots and the Bears, which, NFL like playoff stuff, but they're behind a lot of teams that aren't as good. Cincinnati being one, Chargers, Packers, Niners. I mean, it is the things, but this is if you're gonna bet on the Broncos win the Super Bowl, go do it today.
If you even could get sweet odds on them being the AFC champion, that's where I would put my money, because that seems to be. I don't see anybody in the AFC yet that's going to take that roster. So, and this is coming from a Cowboys fan that has no horse in that race. So,
hey, which I appreciate. They're plus 225. They are 3rd in winning the West.
Oh, take that all day, every day.
For sure.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Good Lord.
Oh man. Yeah.
They really think the Chargers and the Chiefs are just going to bounce back just cuz?
Yeah, man. The Chiefs
cool.
160. They're significantly higher odds. Yep.
Okay. I mean,
AFC odds. The Broncos are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah,
7.
I'm sure Rasheed Rice, rehabbing his knee from jail is just going to be fine. I think that's
Hey,
going
he's
to
just
work
gonna-
out for everybody.
Yeah. Yep. And guys that couldn't block last year are gonna block better this year.
Well, yeah, again, everybody but Josh Simmons. I'm a Josh Simmons fan.
Yes,
that's
true.
where I'm at. But
I mean,
I would
my
agree.
man has to be on the field to block people.
right,
Also
fair.
true. Also true.
that's fair.
If him and Will Campbell just like combined, they'd be phenomenal. Will Campbell on the field, grit, has like the eye block, just his arms are baby arms. Josh Simmons, freak arms.
That guy's name is Orlando Pace. I don't know what we're talking about here.
Orlando Pace,
The,
guy, Ohio State's own.
Exactly. That's for you there, JT.
Thank you.
He's no Walter Jones.
The one thing that I saw, and we talked about this offline, but like the Bo Nix hate, I think has gone a little far. Like I think it was ESPN who I have a disdain for because I don't think their journalism is up to snuff anymore. They ranked like quarterbacks you'd like to build your team around, and Bo Nix was 20th behind, Francisco Mendoza and like Aaron Rodgers. And
Kyler Murray was ahead of him.
Yeah, I was like, I have to seriously ask, what are we even doing here? Like,
what are we doing here?
We like Francisco Mendoza as a prospect, but
Sure.
if he's JJ McCarthy, nobody's going to bat an eye and say,
Right.
okay, wow, that came out of left field.
For sure.
So it's just,
Especially considering the team you're going to. That JJ McCarthy did that with Kevin O'Connell.
right,
Yeah.
Got Sam Darnold rich.
right. I mean, again, I think people are underestimating Bo Nix quite a bit, and it's just unconscionable. I don't understand what he threw like 29 touchdowns last year. He threw for like 3,700 yards. I mean, that's pretty good stuff right there. I mean, I'm not ready to say he's, a top 10 quarterback, but he's damn close. And I don't understand what we're talking about. Like,
especially when it's like projecting over the next 3 years.
Yeah.
And considering it's like a statistical progression and physical traits. And what can he not do? Like what physically are you looking at? And you're like,
again, he doesn't have the strongest arm. Maybe he doesn't have the best accuracy, but he's got a complete package. Like he can move around, he can make plays when he needs to. Like I'm not sure what we're looking at to say, 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers in 3 years is going to be fine. 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers maybe just like retired and smoking peyote somewhere. So I don't get it. Like I just don't understand. So why Bo Nix is just not getting the love that he should? He should.
It's hard. You know what? I give you crap for Dak Prescott, and I feel like some of it. I do it just because it bothers, because it's annoying, not because it's. But it's a little bit like in the same vein issue of just you just like want to like. There's just something, and I think for Bo Nix, it's like the commitment to the bit. Like you got to be right. He wasn't going to be. He's a 12th pick. He's a 6th quarterback taken. Can't be that good. And then it's like, whoa, well, he doesn't do this real well. And it's like, but did you watch the games? Like, do you watch the football game? And statistically, I mean, he's over 3,500 yards passing and 25 touchdowns. There's only 3 quarterbacks to do it. Him, Peyton Manning, and Joe Schmo. I forget who the third was. Pretty good. But I mean, it's not like he's just handing the ball off. He's not Tim Tebow in it. So I don't know either. I mean, he wins in every way possible. He's clutch in the fourth quarter, which is, you want your quarterback to play well on third down and in the fourth quarter. And he does those things. He's missed one game.
Yep.
It's tough, but to be honest, I'm digging this right now because I don't know how they would do as like real front runners.
Sure.
And they were leading the pack last year, but again, I do think that schedule wasn't as challenging, or at least on paper, as it's going to be this time.
Sure.
And so to host the AFC Championship game, you add Jalen Waddle, you bring essentially the entire band back. On top of that, and people are still like, I don't know that you're going to win the division again that you just won. You've won 24 games, regular season games last 2 years, including a home playoff game. but we think you're not even the third best. We think you're the third best team in your division. It's just, I'm all right with it. I'm all right with, if it takes till midseason for the NFL world to wake up and say, oh, like they might actually be pretty good. I'll take it. The Rams overlook them a little bit because they sandwich in between two tough games, or whatever. I'd rather have that, I think, than you're going to get everyone's best shot right now, and maybe that changes before kickoff. But they're not on anyone's radar. Not anyone talked about, right? That we were on the chat together when Myles Garrett goes down, and then AJ Brown goes down, and I don't know why it's a news story that Odell Beckham is back in New York, but that for some reason was like a news thing. Like, he hasn't played, and like it's not the same. But just a lot of those things going on.
That's all right. He'll go for 150 yards against the Cowboys twice, and
that's only two games he plays.
Right. Again, Russell Wilson threw for like 400 yards, and I was like, he's going to be a podcaster. So it's like, okay. So, JT, what do you think of them? Let's start with the AJ Brown trade. What do you think of the AJ Brown trade since it affects the Broncos?
I think that I like AJ Brown better than Diggs. I think he's a better player overall. I think he'll be a good fit for that team. But I think that they're still kind of I don't know. They feel similar to the team that they were before. I think it's always tricky to bring over a guy who's considered a potential locker room. I don't want to say cancer. That's probably a little strong, but not a positive. Yeah. Not a positive force in the locker room, and expecting them to go play with the young quarterback. Maybe they'll gel a little bit better. I think potentially they'll gel a little bit better as far as their games go than he did with Hurts in Philly, especially the last couple of years. But I don't know. That franchise right now has got a lot of turmoil surrounding it, and adding a potential questionable character in the locker room, I don't know if that's going to pay off for him long term. I think that he'll be productive, but I don't think he'll be the AJ Brown of a couple of years ago when they won the Super Bowl. So I like the move overall for them. We talked a little bit about trade package, whether we thought it was, compared to what the Broncos did for Waddle. I think the price was fair. I think I did say in chat, I think the difference between us giving up a 2026 first round and them giving up a 2027 first round could be, I don't think it's necessarily negligible. I think 2027 is supposed to round up to be a pretty good draft class, and to have your first round pick this year as opposed to last year, I think that matters a little bit more. But, I think they're pretty comparable deals.
Do we think that?
Well, remembering though that the Broncos gave the 30th
receiving
for sure.
core, do we think that the Patriots receiving core is now better than the Broncos? Same, worse? I need go ahead and give me. You both can go ahead and give me your thoughts on it.
I think they're comparable. I think I would probably, maybe it's my bias, I'd give it to the Broncos a little bit. I think Cortland's a little more seasoned and consistent than DJ Moore.
DJ Moore's a Bill, but
sorry.
Romeo Dobbs is, I think, the guy.
Dobbs. Yeah, that's right. Well, it still stands. I still feel the same way. I think that as a second receiver, Cortland's better than Dobbs. Waddle is probably not quite as highly touted as AJ Brown, but I think overall I'd take the Broncos squad.
Yeah, I would too. I think Jalen Waddle, the AJ Brown, there's a lot of folks that were like, AJ Brown, over 1,000 yards in 2019, 2020, 869, nice, with the 2021 Titans, who were terrible.
Yeah.
And then 1,400, 1079, 1,000 yards in 20. So he has produced, even when he's been a malcontent, averaging 8 touchdowns a year. It's a guy that comes to play. And so I like the the fit of Jalen Waddle for the Broncos better. I think AJ Brown to me has been a better player. Produced at least at that level. The Broncos have better receiving core. I think if Cortland is your 2, that is better than Mac Hollins or Romeo Doubs. Even though Romeo Doubs has a helmet of 2 players, he is still just one man. And then, I really like what Marvin Mims, Pat Bryant, and Troy Franklin can offer as your 3, 4, 5. I mean, that's a pretty damn good 3, 4, 5 as you're going to get in the league. And then Lil Jordan Humphrey is your 6, who I don't know what year he's in, but that's for a 6th receiver. That's a guy who's carved out a career. Usually when you start getting into 6, 7 range, those are guys that are, guys that 2-3 year careers usually, those are recyclable players. So I think the Broncos have a better receiving core. I do like a lot of the Patriots moves, and I think that brings them a little bit closer. Having Myles Garrett out of the AFC, actually, in my opinion, hurts more.
Actually, can I make one point before we move on to Myles Garrett? I will say is that AJ Brown has a history with Mike Vrabel, so I expect him to have success in New England. I do agree that I think the Broncos receiving core is certainly deeper than the Patriots. So and therefore, in my opinion, better because they can withstand some of those injuries that tend to crop up over the year. So, but go ahead, Nick.
Well, that one I think is a big thing to emphasize. Mike didn't want to trade him. But I think that deal had to happen because Diana leaked it, and so
what? She had inside sources, maybe.
Inside sources. Insider. All right. Sorry. But
Myles Garrett.
When you're looking at the AFC and especially the AFC North, the Bengals. The Browns were never going to win anything, so his team wasn't a threat. But his ability to beat up Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers, and Lamar Jackson on a year-in, year-out basis was a help to the Broncos, that's for sure. So that part, I think, is a little sad. I poured one out for him leaving the AFC strictly for that. And then at some point, odds makers, right? The Rams were already the favorite. And now we're substantially closer to being, I think it's a plus 600 now to win the Super Bowl. And which is it's pretty phenomenal. And we'll see, dream teams rarely ever get the dream, but then you got to go through whoever is in the NFC to win the Super Bowl, which, him going to a team that's already loaded, not exactly great for hosting the Lombardi Trophy. You got to beat his own schedule, all that stuff. But I think the fact that he is no longer in the AFC wreaking havoc on other teams' quarterbacks. He's hurt some guys too. Who at Lamar. There's some guys that didn't make it through the season because of Myles Garrett, which inherently then, not that I'm wishing injuries, but I think that part gets lost a bit of the impact it had on. It was the same as Max Crosby not going to Baltimore. That was a great move. Because Vegas will never win a Super Bowl.
Right.
Max Crosby going to Baltimore makes them a significantly better defense, which inherently depletes your opportunity to host the Lombardi Trophy. So,
also directly on the schedule, Week 3 is the Rams, so you're going to see Myles Garrett this year. Yeah. Also, if you need to know how scary Myles Garrett is, just go ask Mason Rudolph.
For sure.
Oh yeah,
he still has.
Yeah, he'll tomahawk him.
Right.
I think he still has the imprint of that helmet on his, which says a lot because Mason Rudolph's head is large.
I think so.
Fair deal.
The Rams are for sure the favorite, I think. So, and rightfully so. They were the most talented team even before, Myles Garrett becomes a Ram. Trent McDuffie goes there and help corner. So. Yeah, that team's going to be double tough. So we'll kind of see how that goes and plays out. So
did Cleveland get Cleveland like Cleveland does, or was this actually a deal worth making? Or, Myles Garrett, a 30-year-old edge rusher, you're getting back a 25-year-old former first-round pick, Florida State alum, another first-round pick, which is probably going to be in the back end of the first round. It's not a premium pick, that's for sure. And then I think another day 3 pick.
Yeah,
for a guy that I know that they've got calls all over and nowhere near the price that Green Bay paid for Micah Parsons. So I just feel like the Browns got browned, but let me know if I'm over.
Yeah, I don't. Again, like Myles Garrett, and again, I hate this for Cleveland Brown fans because there's some of them are diehard fans in the league.
For sure.
But like Myles Garrett is not pushing. Okay, apparently not. JT hates them. But Myles Garrett's not winning you a championship in Cleveland, unfortunately. So might as well make the best deal you can and get a younger pass rusher and maybe use the. And again, we think they're going to be late round picks, but Matthew Stafford goes down, heaven forbid, and it may become a disaster for them. So, I don't know that you can immediately tell that this was a bad deal. So we'll just kind of have to see.
Yeah, I'm high on Jared Verse. I think he's a good player. I think you're getting a really good player in return. So I think, and he's younger. Not that he's a replacement for Myles Garrett. I don't think you just slot him in and expect the same impact, obviously. But all those picks give you versatility to move in drafts. Move up to get guys you want or back. I don't think that it's so bad for them. I think. Could you have gotten more first-round picks? Probably. But I think Jared Verse is a good consolation prize instead of another first-round pick. And I think that, again, this year's upcoming draft is going to be pretty loaded. And so I think any draft pick is going to have value, whether it ends up being a pick that you make or not. So I don't hate it for him. I do think that they probably could have got a little more.
I'm sorry. Is it 2 first-round picks? Is that accurate, or is it just Verse and a first-round pick?
Verse, a first this year, a second the next year, and a third the following year.
Okay. All right. Well, that's it's not the best, but it's I've certainly seen worse. So
yeah.
It's not bad, and I really like Jared Verse, and I think he, not just that he went to Florida State, but he kind of plays beyond his years. He's tough. He's got grit.
He's a good player for sure.
And so I think he can be a leader within. And I don't know if Myles Garrett was or wasn't. I don't care enough to follow the Browns, but I do think you have to add that into the equation. You're getting a first round pick on a rookie, on a rookie contract, which means that you have another 3 years of control. So it's not. I felt like I think you could have ransomed some other teams, and getting him out of the conference was probably huge for them. And there weren't probably a lot of NFC teams who were willing to sacrifice as much. But I think to your point, they're going to be in the QB market next year.
Sure.
They know that they're not going to be good. The more picks that you have to be able to load to get to the top, not like they won't be, but you also, there's gonna be plenty of holes. So even if they do land a quarterback with their own pick, being able to maneuver for additional assets, you just move your timeline. Myles Garrett wasn't going to be there when they started winning, so I think doing right by him and getting him to a winner was a good move from them. I don't know if they had intention or cared about that, but they kind of win, get him out of your conference. You get him to a team that he can win with, so you kind of do right by a guy who has done right-ish by you, and then you get pretty good assets, and then to have them cascade in stronger drafts, I think is huge, because getting a pick this year would have been, I think, extremely underwhelming.
And lest we forget, Shadur Sanders, Pro Bowl.
Sure.
That's right, Pro Bowl.
Hey, you know what? If he shakes it, then you got 2 1s this year, 2 2s next year, 2 3s the following year, plus they Browns it. So they always trade one back anyway to continue to add capital, which I actually really like. They just suck at picking.
And they had a really good draft class too. I mean, on paper, obviously we'll see how it plays out, but I think a lot of people were high on their draft class. If you're going to rebuild, that's the way you want to do it is getting a guy like Jared Verse, who's got some contract years ahead of him that you can hold on to. And then, just reloading with young talent. And I think that they're going to continue to do that. I think it's a good opportunity to see what they have in Shadur. They picked up Taylor Green out of Arkansas. The kid out of Oregon, I can't think of his name right now, that they have that got some starts last year. So
Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, Dylan Gabriel. Yeah. So they've got
Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel can't stay on that team.
No, I don't think so either. But I'm just saying, like, this is a year that you get to assess that room and see if any of those guys have anything that you can invest in moving forward.
Great point.
So I think it's a good position. It's a good time for them to do this if they're going to do it.
The only thing I will say is that they picked a bad year to try and be the worst team in the league, because Miami by far
100%.
is like exceeding that expectation, and
100%.
the Jets are still there. So, God, I feel
all three of those teams,
but
even all of those teams will be in the quarterback sweepstakes, right? And it's like
I'm
making shirts. Team.
I am making shirts that say "Free Malik Willis." I do not understand.
My man's getting paid. Let's leave him to.
Oh my! $30 million to get the crap kicked out of him. I'm like,
would you take $30 million to get the crap kicked out of you?
Yes,
probably, but I'm poor, so
that's fair. This year they got Spencer Fano, Spencer Fano, KC Concepcion, who I was underwhelmed by, so them taking him at 24. And that was Denzel Boston, jump ball guy. There's a place for those guys. Emmanuel McNeil Warren, their best draft pick, in my opinion, by far. They got a future starter at center and Brailsford. And then they got, Joe Royer, who is dating a high school senior. So we will we'll see. He fits right in. Him and Watson will probably collab.
Stop it.
Save money on the Uber to
oh my God,
go to McDonald's on dates.
That's right.
And then get massages after. All right.
See you, Tom. Let's go.
You're gonna get us canceled.
All right. Well, we're going to talk some more Broncos, but let's transition. We got to talk some Avs sports post-mortem. Avalanche were eliminated, as you all know, from the Stanley Cup playoffs and the Western Conference Finals. The Golden Knights took game one last night against Carolina. And Christmas McFarland is no longer the GM. He is with the Nashville Predators, and Joe Sakic has stepped into that role. How are we feeling about next year? I think we could say the future of the team, but really just next year. I mean, obviously Bednar is going to be back. Sakic said that that's his guy. They're going to roll it back over. They're going to keep it going. Obviously, I think we trust Sakic. He's done some really good things for this team and franchise since he's been in the front office. But how do we feel about opportunity next year? Things that they can do to improve, or is it just bad luck? Makar getting hurt, them just not stepping up when they could have.
Yeah, I just think just the way they went out is just super disappointing, because you got really nothing out of that first couple lines. Even with Makar missing time, you still didn't get anything from McKinnon. You really didn't get anything from, Kadri or Natchez or, Devin Tays underwhelmed, when I was really hoping he would step in for Makar when he was out and maybe provide a little stability, and he provided none, which is it's just super disappointing that those are like, 4 of the 5 guys making the most money on the team, and he got almost net nothing out of them. Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting that Bednar's back, which leads me to think that they're going to promote, Andrew Wilson or Kevin McDonald or even Andrew Caligliano to the GM role. I was actually kind of hoping that, like, Brett Peterson, who's the assistant GM at Florida, would get some run. He was the first black GM in NHL history. So I was kind of interested in him, and he's kind of on the same vibe length as McFarland was, Peterson, talking about it. But it sounds like they're just going to run it back. So it sounds like promoting from within is going to be pretty much a foregone conclusion for that general manager role.
Yeah. I don't even think they're going to look at that until. So it's kind of one of those where it makes you question, like, how much was Joe doing then? If Joe feels like he is fine, he's going to step in. I'm just going to handle the off season, which of course is the one that GMs get. That's how you get paid, really. That he feels like he's good. Step in, get scouting done. I mean, they don't have a first, second, or a third round pick, so
yeah, the draft's not going to be anything.
Probably is not going to be as intense. He's going to take that Mike Vrabel.
I hope that he maintains that aggressiveness, like that McFarland.
Yes.
Like, again, if McFarland, if we're going to give McFarland credit, then it's certainly for the aggressiveness he showed in trades. So and contract signing. So
I mean, their biggest free agent potentials are Brett Burns and Brett Kulak. And then you got Ross Colton, maybe as an example of a guy on an expiring deal that maybe you move. I, after rethinking it, and I heard Zach Bai talk about this a little bit, outside of the cup run, the Avs are averaging just a little over 5 playoff wins a year.
Yuck.
Like, it's just like, right? I don't know. The cup run kind of glosses over the fact that this team has consistently underachieved. And I was actually more on like just leave it alone. Like, they made progress. So again, they went from out in the first round to the conference finals. That is a step in the direction. So it's not like it was a complete disaster. It was definitely a bad showing on the biggest stage. But when you thinking about it that way, and especially if you were to take out these 2 years and then take the other 8, that's awful. Yeah. I mean, just plenty of first round sweeps. I mean, it's Justin Herbert, right? Like, that's just get you to the postseason and then you shrink. I think you owe it to this group because you're not going to change the group. Like, you're not trading all of them. And I like Bedsy. I think he's a good coach. I think sometimes it isn't enough. And in sports, so sports is a little different than I think the working world that most of us are be a part of, right? That hopefully we don't work in all or nothings all the time, like where you have to be the best at what you're doing all of the time. Like, that's the goal. There's really a progression of stuff. There's different ways to succeed. But in pro sports, you either win it all or you don't. There's, and if your objective is championship or bust, then if you're going to talk about it, you got to be about it. And by them committing to him, and really right now he's in the last year of his deal. I am of the, like, all right, fine. If he's still here, then you don't extend him yet. Like, you have to win,
for sure.
Sorry that you feel like you're a lame duck coach. Don't get swept in the Western Conference Finals.
Well, I mean, look at what the Knights did this year. They said this standard's not good enough, and they changed horses midstream. They changed their coach, and look at the boosted game.
Not even midstream,
like in March.
Before.
So
2 weeks before the end of the season, and so they said
this isn't the standard. We're going to be about it. So they're going to be again. The Avs need to have that same kind of conviction. So if Bednar's not the guy, then he's not the guy. And I think Bednar is one of the better coaches in the NHL. I don't know that you're going to get a better coach, but again, a different voice may yield different results. So
yeah, I mean, they are who we think they are, right? Like, how is it going to be different, especially if the cast is the same? Same coach, same cast, expect different results. That said, I will also give some grace in the fact that Vegas just looks like an absolute buzzsaw right now. I mean, what they did against Carolina, you're down, 2 goals in the first 2 minutes or whatever it was, down 1 goal, 30 seconds in, to come back and win on the road in Carolina against a damn good hockey team too. Like, maybe, when it's all said and done, can we look back at it and be like, yeah, Vegas wasn't going to lose. They found the sauce at the right time and all the things. I think that there's something to be said for that. That said, it doesn't take away the other 7 and 8 years, like I've talked about, where they have underachieved at a significant rate. if you look at odds-on betting favorites over the past decade, that's been the top 5 many a time, and didn't even finish in the top 16. That's
right.
just, it's not great, Bob.
JT, I want to get your thoughts on this, but I want to make one point before we get there. I will say that Vegas struggled in their first couple, like their first round matchups. Like they were not to characterize them as a buzzsaw. They may be a buzzsaw now, especially after sweeping and not only sweeping but beating the crap out of the Avs. They may be a buzzsaw now, but they struggled to get to the conference finals. It wasn't as clean as that. So again, if they're about that life, they're about that life. So let's, if we got to change horses, we got to change horses. So sorry, JT, go ahead and jump in, please.
No, it's just. I was going to say what you were going to say, Chris, which is just, sometimes you just need to make a change. Sometimes it'll come mid-season. Sometimes it comes into the season. But I think holding pat is going to be staying pat is going to be interesting with this team. I think at some point, I still question whether the 2 goalie situation is a positive thing overall. It was
not.
It didn't turn out to be a good thing. You could say that it's not on the goaltending, which is fine. I don't think either of them were terrible per se, but I don't think either of them were great either. I think that they did some things on the defensive end that they probably will revert. I think they tried to get bigger and more physical on defense. I think Manson will stay. But having Burns, who's a 42-year-old, defenseman, even though he's a physical presence and can do some of the things you want him to do, I think, if he's the guy, or one of the options to step up to that first line when Makar's out, it's just, it's apples and oranges. It's not, there's nothing you can do there. I think that they'll probably get away from that a little bit. The good thing I think with this team is that there's a lot of guys, that you could go and get if you wanted to shake it up. I think when you're in a window like this, I think Makar and McKinnon are your untouchables, and I think everyone else is on the block, and so if that means trading Natchez and, a draft pick, or if it means trading a couple draft picks and one of our goaltenders, to get someone that can be a bigger contributor or can be a more consistent contributor, I think that they're in a good position to do that because you have player assets. You may not have as many draft assets as some teams, but you have player assets that people will find enticing. I think, I think the Avalanche, even though they got beat in the Western Conference Finals, I think people look at that roster and still say it's a tough roster with a lot of good players. So I don't think they're dead in the water. I do think that if they're going to retool, they've got to do it within the roster now. And so we'll kind of wait and see what that, transforms into, if anything at all. But I wonder, and this is maybe a good opportunity to transition a little bit. To me, the letting McFarland walk away is a little bit of an indictment on the Cronkies. Cronkies are, known to not want to pay coaching and
they're cheap. You can say it. They're known to be cheap.
They've been cheap, and the whole chat about the luxury tax with the Nuggets. There's a lot of conversation about that. I think even Bill Simmons the other day came out and said, like, why are we talking about trading Cam Johnson and Christian Braun? If you just go into the second into the luxury tax or the second apron, you can keep those guys and continue to build. So I think it's just kind of more and more out there that the Cronkies are a bit cheap. And I think this is just kind of more evidence against them. McFarland came in, did everything you asked him to do, was a great front office guy, had great relationships around the league. Everything you saw about him in these deals was that, guys were familiar and comfortable with him to make these deals, and you let that guy walk. And not that it's anything against Joe Sakic. Again, I think he's been great for this organization, obviously, as a player, but also as a front office guy. But I just think, like, you keep letting assets walk out the door, especially in a role like GM. It's just such an important role to have a guy who's established and has some cachet in the league. And now you're kind of back to square one. Is Sakic going to be able to fill that role We'll see. Is it something that they're going to have to transition a new guy into that position mid-season, or coming up into the offseason? It's a weird position for the team to be in, and I think that it's kind of a bad look for the Cronkies.
So, and I'm just going to add context to JT's statement because he's absolutely right. The Cronkies own the Rams, the Nuggets, the Avalanche, and the Arsenal Football Club in the Premier League. And if you don't know a lot about the Premier League, that's fine. But Arsenal just won the Premier League and was in the Champions League final. That is hundreds of millions of dollars that they just collected because of TV contracts and soccer being the most popular sport in the world. So they have no reason to be cheap, but yet they choose to be. So again, come on, you Spurs. But Arsenal just won the league, so they have no reason to be the way they are.
Yeah. Well, it's ego. They think that they can do a better job with those things, and sadly, they're doing a good job, as evidenced by trophies.
I don't know that it's ego. Like I would push back on that. I think it's, and I have a philosophy about this because it applies to Josh Kroenke as it does to Stephen Jones. Is that my theory is that they've never been poor, so they don't know what it's like to have not enough. Like
I love that. Yep.
So they're hoarding this cash, and we don't know if it's going to go away. And what would we do if we didn't make $100 million? The famous philosopher Tupac says, we always had it rough, but we always had enough. So, and most of us have experienced that. So
I think that that's true. I also think in both of their instances, especially considering who their fathers are, I think that there is a air of arrogance and overconfidence. I think Josh thinks he knows basketball to a very high degree.
He played at Missouri. He doesn't know anything about basketball.
100%, right? Like 100%. And
and
when you have had all of that money, right? Like negotiating deals when you are a billionaire, like it's hard to appreciate the dollar that you're fighting for. Like you said, if you've I don't need you. I can buy, like that just kind of gravitas. Or I don't even it's like, so it's always been weird. Yeah. Why you would pinch pennies in a all or nothing industry and
when you have two
MVPs and you don't let guys go. I mean, Tim Conley showed and Masai won the championship before the Nuggets. There's a lot to be said there. And for the Cronkies have had some good team success. They have not sustained it though, right? In terms of like having a team, the Nuggets should be a dynasty. The Avalanche should be a dynasty. And right now they're barely in the playoffs, maybe winning a series. And that's inexplicable.
Yeah. Again, you want that repeatable process. You want to have a good process in place so that you can repeat championships and you can be competitive 100%. Year after year after year. And it's not just 1 year wonders, because that explains the bad process explains those 1 year's wonders. They just got 100%. Fortunate that 1 year. So, but having a process is how you build 100%. So
and a commitment to it.
And I mean, I think there was a lot of conversation with the Nuggets, like you bring in two guys to be general managers as opposed to one. You keep your young, unproven coach. Like we talk about with the roster construction, like you have an MVP, like an MVP caliber player in his prime, and you're going to choose to cut corners at any position is strange to me. Like when you have a window, it doesn't open all that often. And so for the Cronkies to, be underwhelming and pinch pennies and not put guys in positions to maximize the talent that they have, it is frustrating. Again, nothing against Adelman. I think Adelman's a good coach. I think he will be a good coach. But I think that, having Adelman in the room versus a guy that has a lot of cachet, has relationships in the league, I think that matters, and has respect of those kind of highest caliber players. So it's just, it's one more, negative tally, I guess, for the Cronkies in my mind to let McFarland walk. But, we'll see what they end up doing in the offseason and moving forward. Did we want to get? We never talked about Surtain. We want to talk about Surtain's pay raise.
Certainly.
I mean, is it just you got $5 million for being the best at what he does?
It was on the
goes to
rundown.
show my opinion.
And I didn't
It
say
goes
it,
to show my opinion. A team that is willing, like you said, Chris, like process, right? Like we're going to do things first class, and we're not going to shortcut.
Yeah.
And you do that, right? You're getting a guy who's going into a 4-year extension right now that you negotiate on good faith that made him a very well-paid player. It is no longer, that contract is no longer the same, right? And what you appreciate about him or how you value him. So you just gave him more money in a salary capped sport.
Yep.
This isn't basketball where it's just you got to pay it, but you can. In the NFL, you can't do things. Not as much as some other, but to give him $5 million, it's not nothing. And then a bonus, like he got the check. It wasn't IOU, it wasn't Lloyd Christmas. But I think that goes to show, and we'll see that they have to prove it on the field, right? Because at least the boys at Ball have rings and Bo Nix doesn't. But it'll be interesting to see if we blink, it's 5-10 years down the road and what the outcome has been with Bo Nix, who is not on the same level, in my opinion, and I don't think ever will be at his sport as Nikola Jokic, Cale Makar, or Nathan McKinnon are in their sports, in my opinion. And so if he goes and wins 2 Super Bowls, right, like that to me again goes to show a commitment to more of a validation of the commitment to process.
I will push back on. I agree with you that it's no. The only thing I'm going to push back on is that the wins are a quarterback stat. That they're not. Like it takes a team to win a Super Bowl. I think it gives the organization more
leader.
Yeah, but again, it gives the organization more credence that we're doing things the right way because we've won multiple championships. So
that's what I'm saying is in the end.
Yeah, but I wanted to make sure we were clear because you said Bo Nix and I
said Bo Nix more of like the facier. I think over a 10 years. Period,
just sit there and be wrong. It's fine.
You need to have a really good quarterback to win more than one Super Bowl. I think you can win with Brad Johnson once. You're not climbing that over and over again.
Eli Manning.
You need to be the best in the NFL. No, but I think that's why it furthers the point that we're making of if they go and win without an elite quarterback, right? A physically elite. It's not he's not Hall of Fame maybe, but Nathan McKinnon is or Cale Makar is arguably every year has been the best player at their sport. So Nikola Jokic over the last 7 years,
certainly
has been the best player on the planet. And then they have one trophy each. When I don't think we'll say that about Bo Nix at any point in time. He might be a Hall of Famer, but I don't think we'll ever feel super solid that he's the best quarterback, let alone best player in the league when those guys are. And this is what they have to show for it. And I think that the Broncos will have more success long-term because I think that the ownership group is dialed in on the best way to do stuff. So
they have a more solid foundation for
100%.
success.
100% and commitment to it, right?
Yep.
Like our best outcome is winning, not making the money. It's easy to say when you're worth $80 billion or whatever. But the Cronkies are billionaires too. It's not like, they're out there with nickels and pennies trying to.
Right. This isn't like the Green Bay Packers, which are owned more by the fans. 100%. So
right.
Again,
100%,
these people are billionaires and need to act like it instead of pretending that they don't have 2 nickels rub together.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You'd sneeze and drop $5 million out of your pocket.
Right. How many yachts is enough?
McFarland.
How many yachts?
Yeah. That's appreciate it.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, let's talk. I just want to run by you really quick. So we didn't talk Nuggets very much. Came out pretty recently, I think probably in the last week, that most likely trade pieces for the Nuggets are Christian Braun, Cam Johnson. Just want general thoughts on that. I've kind of been, playing around with trade machines, and it's tough, man. It's tough to trade for anything and get anything in return that feels valuable, that feels worth it. The more and more I look at it, it feels like this team may end up having to stand pat.
Yeah, it's funny that they're kind of having the opposite problem of the Avs. The Avs have all the interesting player assets, and the Nuggets have assets.
Yeah.
Again, I think they need to get out of. And again, Mark Steiner was reporting about they're more likely to trade Cam Johnson and Christian Braun. It would be interesting if Christian Braun goes because his contract is almost untradeable because he was so terrible last year and he's getting paid a ton of money. But he's also one of Joker's favorite teammates. So, and if you're gonna if you're not going to build around and try and win Joker a championship, you may just want to keep him happy. So I think it's more likely that Cam Johnson goes than anything. So, but I was actually looking at like Trey Murphy, the third from the Pelicans this week, and I don't think I think it's pie in the sky. So I agree with you. But again, he was an interesting name that I thought of. So
yeah, I like that too. And it's just like you can't do anything in free agency really because you're so strapped in the cap.
You choose to be strapped.
Right, exactly. And even still, I mean, even if they go into the next apron, it's not really enough to sign a top tier guy, at least not for any extended amount of time. So it just becomes more and more tricky. I think that the problem that the Nuggets have right now is that they have no draft assets, and like that's huge to get off of contracts that you don't want on your books anymore. You have to have draft picks, and the fact that they have none is really a killer. Now, come draft day, maybe you find someone who would do who you can trade and swap with or something. They can trade this year's draft pick on draft day, but I mean, outside of that, you're really like, you don't have any assets that you can even send out to get second round picks, really, unless someone really loves one of your young prospects. And it's a really bad position to be in. And it feels like, we're expecting some big movement, and they've kind of hinted that there could be movement, but it just like, the more I look at it, unless they are finding some real infatuation with some trade partners and that you wouldn't expect, it's a really tough uphill battle, I think, for them.
100%.
Yeah. And it's to me, when I look at like where the Avalanche are and the Nuggets are, and my differentiator is like that the Avalanche were the best team in the regular season. So, like talent, and they were 8-1 going into the playoffs. And so I think it's important to like look at it that way a little bit of like they are in it, right? They're top 4. They finished top 4 in the league. If you look at the Nuggets are not like they didn't get out of the first round, and San Antonio will only get better.
Yeah.
And OKC will only get better.
Yeah.
And so they're in this really weird spot where not only can you not really make a ton of moves, but if I'm the Cronkies and you're asking me to go in the second apron to finish 4th in the West, 5th in the West, like that, and that part is like I give a little bit of give a little grace going that way, because if they don't choose to bring Peyton Watson back because they don't want to go over that, the band stays kind of back, or however they maneuver it. Because I don't know that there's a move to make where you feel like, you know what, we can take either those teams to 6 or to 7, and if you do, then I think you give yourself a chance. I just don't think. I don't know. It's hard because they also weren't healthy. If Aaron Gordon, that's a huge if. If he's healthy and Peyton Watson is healthy, is that team different? It's hard because I believe that they would be, and I think that that's what gets you in trouble. Is though, like we're going to start the season, they'll be healthy.
They're all a year older, though.
They're all a year older, and Peyton Watson's got hurt also, I think, every year. On top of in his young career, and Aaron Gordon, right now is a guy that you can't count on to be healthy in the playoffs 2 years in a row. It's kind of like Val Nichushkin, right? It's like I don't know if I trust you, man. Like, we're going to get to there, and I need you to play well, or we're going to lose. And Val, for several years in a row, couldn't get it together for different reasons. Obviously, AG is pivotal for this team to be able to win. They are just a different team with him on the floor. So could I talk myself into, pay a little bit extra, you bring the band back together and you do something different? It's a big if. And for a team that pinches pennies, I would hire everyone under the sun to like better train our team so we have less injuries. You know,
100%.
The Broncos figured something out in the most physical sport, you know, and you can't tell me you can't figure out a better way to do some stuff in the NBA. You know, there's a lot of things to do, but I feel like this team is handcuffed, and because you got to win, you can't punt, and because of the trade rules, like you can't even unload and tank and like restart. Like you got to take back.
Right.
I think it's
similar salaries, and those guys probably aren't good either.
I think your point is well made about trying to convince the Cronkies to go into the second apron to finish fourth. I think that's an excellent point that we need to reiterate, you know, over the summer. But I think the albatross in the room is that Jamal Murray makes entirely too much money to be at a fringe all-star level guard. Like he just makes too much money to do that. So, and I think, you know, I think it's time for us to take a hard look at that and say, you know, Jamal, we appreciate everything you did, especially in the championship run, but we got to sell you on. And I think, you know, it may be time to blow it up and just say, you know, maybe we need to go our separate ways. Joker, you got to be with us for 1 year. We'll do our best, but I don't know, like, because, you know, we're kind of, like you were saying, we're kind of stuck right now, and that's not a great place to be in.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It will be interesting to see if they're able to maneuver and get some guys, and who's going to come here on a, you know, after a first round exit on a veteran minimum deal. You know, I think that maybe you're less enticing this offseason than you were last offseason. So, you know, we'll have to see how that all shakes out. But we are going to call it here today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. We appreciate you. You know, we'll be back next week. We'll be talking Broncos and all Colorado sports, maybe even some Rockies for the doc. Oh, okay. No, that's off. But no, we appreciate y'all. Thank you for being here. Be safe, be kind to one another. And if you need a sports prescription, ask a doctor.
I got you.
From football to hockey, we're taking it higher. Join the celebration, feel that sports desire. So grab your crew, let's hit the show. My high sports symposium, let the good times flow.